Hello everyone and welcome back. So this is a stream which we are doing in continuation of the video that I uploaded yesterday. Let me show you that currently we are building this enterprise chat application. So if you go to the channel page, then you can find that I actually posted a video yesterday. You can see it's 9 hours 48 minutes video. Actually, this is a full stack enterprise chat application and this is only the front end part that I have posted till now, and we are now continuing the remaining part in live streams. After all the parts are streamed, I'm going to combine it and post it as a single video. Okay. About the source code will be provided in the description box. Okay. When I post a full complete video. Okay. So right now, what we are going to do, I have already covered this application till this part. As you can see on my screen, we have got this chat interface. Okay, and till now we have created lots of things. Okay, like we have different kinds of messages like audio. Okay, we can send media files. Okay, gifs, emojis, everything is there. Okay, we have typing indicator, lots of different kinds of messages. Now if you have watched this particular video, okay, this is a 10-hour long video, then by the end of this we are creating this media message. Let me show you how it's going to look. So now we are going to continue from this point onward, where we are creating a media message and we want to create a grid like this for our for displaying the media files. Okay, so what is going to happen? We are going to now create a component which can render images, or you can say videos. Okay, it can be any media into this format. What I mean is, let me just show you. So what I'm going to do, uh, I'm just going to tell you how it's going to respond according to the number of images. So let's say we have just one image. Okay, that means user just send one image. Then what's going to happen? In that case, you can see this whole area will be taken by just one image. Okay, then in the case where we have, let's say, two images. Okay, then we want to display our message like this. Okay, then let's also try the case in which we have three images. Now when we send three images, it's going to be displayed like this. Okay, then what's going to happen when we have four or more images? So if we add a fourth image, then we're going to see the numbers, like the additional number of media files that are there. Okay, then if I just keep increasing this number, let's increase it to 5. So now you can see three images are visible, and here we get this number plus 2. Okay. So what is this, telling you that we need to create something like this for displaying multiple media into a single message. Okay. And I am going to call this component media message grid. But there is one more thing that I want to tell you, and that is, let's say user has sent, more than three media files. Then how do we view the others? Okay, how can we, view the fourth and fifth in this case? So for that, we are going to now implement a feature called lightbox. Okay, and here the images and videos that you can see, they are actually the dummy images and videos, but these are going to be exactly the same as you see inside this grid. Okay, so this is the feature that we are going to implement, that you can see all the images and videos in full screen mode as well. You can autoplay them, and if you, let's say, get a video. Okay, so let's change to the video. So like this, then you can also play that video inside the lightbox. Okay, so I hope you understand this feature of our application. Now we can start building it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my code base. Okay, and now over here, I'm already telling you that please make sure that you have watched that 10-hour long video before you are continuing with this live stream. You can watch it later if you haven't gone through that particular 10-hour long video. So make sure you do that before watching this one. Now inside the messages, we have our media message. Okay, and inside media message, we left the comment for creating media message grid. So what I'm going to do now, inside this components folder, we can create a new file. Okay, and I'm going to call it media message grid. Okay, .jsx. Now let's actually start writing some JSX inside this file. Okay, so first of all, I have created a React functional component. After creating our React functional component, we need to now start writing some JSX inside it. Okay. So what I'm going to do, let's just get back to this. Okay. And over here, I want to create a grid. Okay. So let's remove this text from the inside, which is saying media message grid. And on this div, I'm going to add a few class names. Okay. So let's actually add a string interpolation over here because I want to, use JavaScript while writing the class names. So we'll use some kind of condition. So over here, I want to write grid, and I want to define the number of columns and rows. So in order to define columns, we can just write grid calls and then the number. So I want two columns and two rows. So let's write grid calls 2 and grid rows 2. Okay, like this. Then padding from the top will be 4 and padding from the bottom, let's set it to 2. Okay. After doing this, I also want to define some gap between all the images. So we can write gap 3. Okay, or you can also choose any other value. Now, after this, I also want to have some, big border radius. That means roundedness around the corners. So I'm going to give this class rounded 2xl. Okay. But on the top left corner, I want, the sharp corner. So I'm going to write rounded TL. TL means top left. Okay. Then if we add none, this means we are basically saying border radius on the top left corner should be set to 0 pixel. Okay. Now, after that, we are going to basically get a prop which is going to tell us whether the particular media message grid that we are displaying is does I mean this belongs to the incoming message or the outgoing message. Now, based on that, we are going to style it differently. So let's write dollar sign and then inside curly bracket we are going to compare this condition. Incoming is going to be a boolean prop. Okay. So let me just first word wrap it. Okay. So what we're going to do, we are going to add a conditional over here. We are going to say that if incoming, that means if it's an incoming message, then I want to use a different background color. Okay. And if it's an outgoing message, I'm going to use different style. So in case of incoming, true, we are going to set the background color to gray color. Okay. And for the dark mode, we are going to set the background color to box dark 2 color. So BG box dark 2. Okay. Now similarly, on for the other case, when the incoming is false, then what we're going to do? We're going to set the background color to transparent. Okay. So BG transparent. Now, after defining this div, which is actually a grid with 2 columns and 2 rows, now the next step is to start rendering images inside it. But in order to render images, we should first have the access to image URLs. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now, create a dummy list of images. Later on, when we integrate our API, this is going to come from our Redux store that we're going to implement. But for now, I'm just going to write it inside the component like this. So images equals, and then it will be a list, that means an array, and inside this array we can add multiple items. So each item is going to contain a key value, because I'm going to use this key value in order to map over the list items and also optimize the list using this key prop. Then we also want to include image source. That means the source of the image that we want to render. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you how to get the images. Okay. So while you are developing, I always prefer to use images from packfuls.com. So you can just come to this site and browse a lot of free images. Okay. And let's say we want to include images for cars. Okay. So just copy anyone that you like. Okay, let's say this one. So click on copy image address, go back to your code base, and here I'm just going to paste it. So since I'm just doing this for the example purpose, I have already created my list and I'm not going to waste any more time creating this dummy list. So I'm just going to copy and paste the images that I already have. Okay, I have already shown you how to create this kind of dummy list. You can do that now. Okay, so after that, I want to, handle multiple cases, like based on this images array length, I want to render, different kinds of grid. That means if it is just single, it should take both columns and both rows. And when it, we have two images, we want to give one column to both and two rows. So here I'm just going to, create a function, render function. So let's call it render images. Okay. Now, this render images function is just going to be a simple arrow function. Please note that. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write if images dot length is equal to 1. That means we are comparing the length of the array. Okay. This array. If it has length of 1, that means we just have single image. Then what I want to do, I want to return some JSX. Okay. So first of all, let's create a wrapper using div. So I'm just going to write div, and inside this div I want to do two things. Let me tell you what they are. So here, if you take a look at our application, then this is the image that we want to, display as a item. And also in on the image, we want to place this kind of download button. Okay. Now, in order to do this, we must have a wrapper, okay, which contains the image as well as the button, because this button is going to be absolutely positioned. So we must have a relative parent. That is why I'm creating this div. Okay. So this is going to act like a wrapper to both these things, image and the download button. Now let's start adding some class names. So as I explained you, the first role is this parent needs to be relative so that we can, position the children absolutely with respect to it. Now after that, I want to define that it should span both the columns, okay, that it's going to get, and similarly it should also span across the two rows that are available to its parent. Okay, so now we have set it the row span, column span, and also the relative property. I also want it to have, very big border radius around all the four corners, so I'm going to add this property rounded to XL. Okay. Now let me just also tell you that if you get some doubt in between, okay, please make sure you ask this in the comment section. Okay, so there is a comment, provide timestamp or code in both the parts. Yeah, so I'm going to add timestamps in the first video that I have posted. Okay, and also update the description. Okay. Okay, so let's now continue with what we are doing over here. Right now, we have created a div which is going to act as a relative parent. We have defined that it should take both the columns and both the rows from its parent. You can see the parent has got two columns and two rows. Okay, and after this, as I said, we want to place two childrens inside it. The first one is the image itself. Now, to render an image, we are going to use this image tag. Okay, and let's first start by providing the source. Since we have got just one image, so I'm not going to, use the map function of JavaScript. I can just directly write over here images. Okay. From this array, we want the first element, and on the first element, we are going to access image source property. Okay. We can also include this alt prop inside the list. We are going to do that inside our schema. Okay. So when we send the response from the API, we are also going to get this alt. So we'll map that over here. Right now, I can just leave it empty. Okay. Let's also style our image appropriately. First of all, I want the image to take the full height and full width. What does this mean in Tailwind? Let me tell you that H full, W full means 100% of the parent. Okay. You can also hover over it to see uh, that it's going to apply 100% height and 100% width. Okay. So let's also do one more thing. I want to give it again border radius. So I'm going to use this property rounded LG. Let me also give you a tip that if you are new to Tailwind CSS, I already, told you in that previous video, if you have watched that, to install this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense extension. Okay, this is going to help you a lot, especially when you are, very new to Tailwind CSS. Okay, so that you can, always inspect the classes. What does this mean? Okay, when you are, even when you are seeing me and writing your code, so you will get familiar with it, and very soon you will be able to, write it on your own. So let's now continue with this. After this border radius, I want to, apply two more properties. The first one is object property. Object fit means that this height and width that this image container is going to take, the image should span, fill all that space, cover it entirely. Then also we want to define the position of image inside that container. So I'm going to set it to center. So object center means object position is set to center. I hope that is clear. Now we can do one thing. We can, call this render function inside our grid. So In order to do that, we need to add curly bracket because we want to call a function. That means writing some JavaScript inside JSX. So this is the correct way to call it. Don't make this a mistake that you just write the name and don't call it, because that is not going to, render the images. So after doing this, there is one more step left, that you need to go inside the messages, and inside this media, here we have this comment media message grid. You want to add that particular component over here. So I'm going to just write media message grid, and you can see my editor is suggesting me to import it from the one step back. So I just did that. You can see at the top it is imported. Let's also not forget that it requires us to provide one prop which is incoming. Now this incoming is a boolean prop, which is also a prop that its parent is going to receive. So we are just going to forward it, okay, like this. The parent received the prop and then we passed it on to the children. Similarly, we have to do the same thing for the other case as well. Now let's just go back to our application and see what is happening. So here I'm inside the application, but I cannot see anything rendering over here. Okay, there is some space, obviously. So we are going to now, debug that why it's happening like this. So here you can see right now we have lots of images. So this condition is actually not satisfying. Okay. So what I want to do is I'll just comment out rest of the images for now. Let's do it like this. Okay. After commenting the rest of the images, you can see, yeah, the first image is now visible. So let's now focus on the next thing, and that is to display this download button. Before that, let me check if there are any more comments. Okay. So you can always ask your doubts inside the chat section. Okay. Please make sure you ask them. I'm also, checking it continuously, and then I'll answer it. So let's now create that button. So it's actually going to be very simple. I have already told you that it's going to be positioned absolutely with respect to the this parent, which is relative. Okay. So here we can just now use a button element. Okay, button, and inside that we want to first of all place an icon. Okay, this download icon. And let me tell you that for this project we are using this library called phosphor icons. Okay, so let the site load. Yeah, now here you can just search for any icon name. Let's say download, and let's say we want to use this one, download simple. Click on it, choose React, and you will see how to use it inside your application. Now just go back to your application and write the name download simple and import it from phosphor icon slash React. Okay, now on this button I want to add some styling. So first of all, we want to position it as absolute. So I'm going to write absolute. Then from the top side, I want the position to be 3, and from the right side, we want it to be 4. So what I have actually done over here, you can just see that this download button, actually we have set it that from the top it should be 3 space from the top and 4 from the right side. So we have defined its position with respect to its parent. Now let's also do one more thing. We are going to increase the size of this icon. So I'm going to just pass this prop size 20. Okay. Then let's also add some background to this button. So for that, I'm going to use this property BG and then the color name gray. Okay. I want the opacity to be 80%. So I can just write slash 80. This is how you can define, different opacity for any colors inside tailwind. Now for the dark mode, I want a different background color, so I can just write dark column and then BG. After that, I can write the color name box dark. Okay, that is the color that I want over here. Then padding is going to be 2 from all directions. That means top, bottom, left, right. Then let's also add some, smoothness around the corner, that is border radius. Okay, so if you can hover over it, you will see that it applies border radius of 6 pixel around all the 4 corners. Okay, let's also add the hover effect. So when we hover over the button, I want the background opacity to drop to 70% from 80%. You can see initially it's set to 80% background color, this one with opacity of 0.8, which means 80%. And when we hover over the button, we are going to set the opacity to 70%. Okay, then Let's also, you know, customize the color of the icon. So here I'm just going to write hover. When we hover over the button, I want the text color to be black. Okay. And when it's dark mode and when we are hovering over it, then I want the text color to be white. Okay. So I hope this is clear. Now we can just go back to our application and see. Okay, so now when I'm hovering over it, you can see the change happening inside the icon button. That means it's working. Okay, so the next step is to focus on rendering the other grid items. So what I mean is we are going to now create our second and third grid item. Okay, so let's focus on the second case. Here we have created the first case in which we have the images array length equal to 1. Now I'm going to add an else if case after this one. So let me write else if, okay, images dot length. The condition is going to be simple. We are just going to check if it is 2. So we are going to repeat the same pattern till images length is equal to 3. After images length exceeds 3, we are going to just show the additional number of media assets that we have got inside a box like this. Okay. So this is our second case, and let me just get back to my code base. Yeah, over here we are going to now return, but this time you see we are going to have multiple images, so I want to do mapping. Okay, you all I hope you are already aware with mapping if you are watching this course. So here I'm just going to write images, which is an array. I'm going to map over it. Okay, so inside map we are going to get the image, access to image as the iterator. That means each image, which is this object, okay, containing two properties, key and image source. We are going to iterate over it. So let's write image. Okay, then this callback function is going to now return some JSX. Okay, so I can just simply write it like this. Inside curly bracket, I'm going to write a return. Okay, then div. So this div is actually going to be exactly similar to the one that we created in the case number 1. That means it's going to be relative, but here the call span value is going to change. Okay, so let me just copy and paste it over here. It's going to be relative. It's going to have a roundedness of 2 pixel. That means border radius of 16 pixel from all the corners. But here I'm just going to decrease the call span to 1, because you can see I already told you that when we have two images, then the two column space will be divided equally between the two images. Okay, so that is what we are doing over here right now, as you can see. And inside this again we have to render these two things, image and the button. So I can just again copy and paste it over here. Okay, but this time you have to be careful over here. Instead of displaying just the first image, we have to take the help of this image iterator. So I'm going to write image dot image source. Okay, rest of the things can remain the same. So for testing this case, I'm just going to uncomment this second image. Let's go back to our preview, and here right now you can see that we can now see our second image rendering as well. Okay, so over here I have shown you the two cases. Then this is the repo in which I'm going to post all of the code, but for now you have this readme file where I'm actually adding all of the code that is redundant, okay, or that we can directly copy and paste. So what I have given you over here, let me just show you. This is the media message render function. If you scroll down just a little bit, you will find this section. So what I am done, what I have written over here is the same function that we are creating. We have created the first and second case. Now this third case is going to be exactly similar. We are going to render the first three images. Okay. Then in the fourth one, we are just going to add an additional child element. Okay, which is going to display the additional number of images. So you can just directly copy and paste it from here. I'm going to explain each and every line. Okay, so let's just replace this render images with this one. This is just to save some time. Okay, I'm not skipping this part, I'm still going to explain you. So what is going to happen when the image's length is 3? We are going to take the element with index 0 and 1. After slicing it, we'll map over it. So just like we did in case number 2, okay, we created a wrapper, and in this time we gave this call span 1 row span 2, but in this case we are going to give call span 1 row span 1. That is the only difference. image and button, they are going to be exactly similar to what we have written in the other case. Then we are going to now render the third image as well, again with the same call span and row span value. Okay, everything will be same uh, inside this mapping function. So we can also do it like this. Let me just correct it. So we can slice from 0 to 3, that means we'll get 0, 1 and 2. And instead of writing this thing, we can just remove it and do everything inside the mapping function. So now I hope this is clear to you. Then for the fourth case, what we are going to do, we are going to again slice from 0 to 3. That means getting the elements with index 0, 1 and 2, the first three images. We are mapping over it, rendering. And for the fourth grid item, we are just creating a div with the background color of dark gray color, and at the center you can see I have used this flex property, and I have set it item center justify center. That means whatever is the content this container is going to hold, it will be exactly at the center, both horizontally as well as vertically. Okay, so since we are displaying some text inside it, so I have also given this text property. That means I have set it the text size to extra large, where font size will be 20 pixel, line height will be 28. I have set it the text color and also the font width. After that, we are just, getting the total length of the images array. We are subtracting 3 from it so that we get the additional number of images, or you can say media, because it can be video as well. Okay. So now we can, test it out. So let's just uncomment images one by one. So I'm going to uncomment the third one. Let's go back, and you see this is how if we have, three images in a message, then this is how it's going to look. And let's uncomment the fourth one and see how it's going to look. But since we are already running this project, okay, so I'm just going to complete it before that one. After I end this stream, I'll also going to stream the Airbnb part. Okay, so you can watch that one. After this, let's keep on moving. Okay, and since we have created our media message now, so the next thing I want to create is our audio and video call UI. So this is how it's going to look when we place when we place a video or audio call. We are going to see this kind of interface. Okay, where there will be two participants. And it's going to be, one-to-one call. So there will be the author, that means you, and the other participant. Then we'll have the option to control our voice and, camera. So we are going to create these controls and one disconnect button. For the audio call, we are going to just make a very little change. That means we are not going to show the video feed. Instead, the user's profile images will be visible, and we are going to have the user's profile images will be visible, and we are going to have control for disconnecting the call or muting. Okay, so let's now create this thing. And here, first of all, we need to again go back to our code base and plan how we are going to implement this thing. So after this media message grid is implemented, I'm going to just close it for now. Okay. Let me also tell you that for now, I'm not going to tell you how to implement the lightbox, because we want to, implement the lightbox feature. That means when we click on the images, we should see it in the full screen mode. Okay. That is not going to happen inside this preview application. Okay. As of now, and I'm actually leaving it for the part where we start integrating the API. So when we get the actual array and we store it inside our Redux, we'll map over it, and I'll show you how to, implement this lightbox component as well. For now, I'm going to now start with this audio and video call UI. So let's just go back to our code base. After, collapsing all the files over here, now I'm going to tell you to again go back inside the source components. Okay. Then here we want to create new file. This is going to be called uh, video room. Okay, you can call it anything, but this is the name that makes sense to me, so I'm just labeling it video room. And inside this now, we want to create a modal. Okay, so what I mean by modal is, you can see when I'm clicking over it, uh, inside this application, when we click over this audio video call button, we are going to see something like this, which means it's floating over all the other content. So we call it modal. Okay. and we have already created this several times inside this application. So if you have watched the previous video in this particular course, then you will remember that here just like have this model for choosing media files, okay, and also for recording the voice, we are going to create the model window in the same way. So let me just go back to our code base and start creating it. Okay, so first of all, let's remove this video room text. Okay, and here I'm going to start adding some class names. Let me tell you that here we already have this gif modal. Okay, this is another model that we have already created inside this particular course. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to we are going to follow the same strategy, but I'll explain it just one more time. So here let me just check. So this is our model that we want to create. Okay, so we are going to now add some class name. First of all, I want it to have fixed positioning. Okay, so we are going to always give this position fixed, okay, to the parent, and this parent is going to act like that uh, you know transparent black color page that we see all over the screen, okay, when we open the model window, where we have to define the position for this fixed element. So it's going to be left 0, top 0. Okay, and I want it to appear over everything, over every content. So I'm going to give it the highest z index value that is possible. And you can see inside this tailwind css we have these values, and there is these values where we have this dash sign in front of it, which means negative z index. I want positive z index, so I'm going to give this one. Okay, then let's also make it into a flex container. So I'm going to write flex class over here, which means display is set to flex. Then height property will be set to full. I want to set the minimum height to screen size. Okay. So screen size is, depends on the device that you are using. So it's going to set minimum height to 100 VH, viewport height. Okay. Then let's also make sure that this window or the model takes full width, okay, full height, full width, and minimum height is set to 100 VH. Now after that, since we want to place the that white box in the middle, both horizontally as well as vertically, that is why we are using this flex property. Okay, then the next step is to set the align items property to center and also justify property to center. So this is one of the tricks that we use in CSS to center the content both horizontally as well as vertically. That means setting the parent as flex container, and then setting the align items property to center, and also justify content property to center. Okay, let's now set the background color. So background color is going to be black. Let me format this document, and also I'll bird wrap it. Okay, so background color, I want it to be black, but not totally pitch black. So I'm going to decrease its opacity value from 100. I'm going to set it to 90. So which means if you hover over it, you can see the background color will be the black color, but it's going to have opacity of 0.9. Okay, that means 90%. Then I also want to provide some padding in x and y direction, that means vertically and horizontally. So in the horizontal direction, I want px to be 4 and py to be 5. Then we also want to make sure that we are showing this particular model only uh, when it needs to be opened. So for that, we are going to receive two props. The first one will be open, and the second one will be handle close. Okay, so this is the props that we are going to receive from the parents, where this component is going to be mounted. And let's now see how we are going to use this thing. So I want to actually use this open, which is going to be a boolean value. I want to use that inside this particular class name. Where So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap it inside the curly bracket. Then I'll use the backtick, and let's remove this double quotes. Okay, now we can start doing string interpolation inside it. That means writing some JavaScript condition, okay, or some JavaScript inside this curly bracket. So I'm just going to write open. Okay, we are going to compare its value, and we'll uh, apply the class conditionally. So if it is open or not, based on that we are going to set the visibility. Okay, So here I'm going to set it to block if it is open, and if it is not open, then I'm going to set it to hidden. Okay. So you can see display is going to be set to block if the open property is true. If it is false, then display is going to be none. Okay. Now inside this, this is just the wrapper. Let me again remind you what we have just created. So when you open any of the model, you can see we are going to get this black color screen. Okay, but it's not completely black, its opacity is set to 90%. So we have just created that thing, and inside that we now we need to place this white box. Okay, so what I'm going to do, inside this div I'll create another div. Okay, and this is going to act like that white box in the center. Please remember that. So we again need to style it appropriately by giving it some class name. First of all, I want it to take the full width, but I am also going to restrict its max width. So I'm going to write max w 142.5. Okay. Now please note that this 142.5 that I'm giving, actually it's one of the permissible values. So if you just scroll down a little bit over here, then you will see that 142 point, here let me just show you. I need to write 142. Yeah, so this is actually one of the values that is defined inside the tailwind. So I'm not using just some random value. If you want to let's say you want to provide some custom value, let's say 200 pixel, so you have to use this square bracket notation. This is how we provide custom values inside tailwind css. But for now, for our use case, 142.5 is going to be good, so I'm going to use that. Okay, then let's actually give it some border radius. So I'm going to write rounded lg. That means large border radius. Border radius will be set to 8 pixels. Then I want the background color to be white, so let's write bg white. But in the dark mode, when we switch to dark mode, I want a different background color, which will be bg box dark 2. Okay, so bg box dark, let's use this one. For the medium, for the screen sizes that are medium or above, I want to add some padding in the y direction, so I'm going to write py8. Okay, y means vertical direction, top and bottom. So I hope this much is clear. Let's also add padding in x direction to 8. And in the other cases, when the screen size is below, medium size screen, I want to add padding of 12. So this is our box, and now we should, see it on our UI. In order to do that, we need to use this video room inside our inbox. So inbox is contained inside section/chat. So we need to go inside this inbox.jsx file. Okay. And first of all, in order to control the state, that means whether at any given point we should display the modal window or not, we have to create some kind of state. So inside the inbox component, I'm going to make use of this hook provided by React, which is called use state. Okay. Now I'm going to set the initial value to false. Okay. Here I'm just going to write video call comma set video call. Okay. So we are just creating the state inside this component. Similarly, we are going to need the state for audio call as well. So let me just define it at the same time. Video call and audio call, we have defined for both of them. Now what we need to do is just scroll down a little bit inside this inbox component, and you will see this chat header section. We have got total three major components inside this inbox, and the things is, the first thing is chat header. At the top we have got the chat header, then all the messages list and the input. Let me show you on the screen. So here, this is the inbox component that we are talking about. At the top, we have the header part, then we have the messages list, and at the bottom, we have our input. I want to, make some changes inside the header, that when we click on these icon buttons, those pop-ups should open. Okay. So what we're going to do now, inside this chat header, we are going to now see in what's inside this. And you will find that there is a button with video camera icon, and there is another button with phone icon. So basically, we want to add an on-click event on this thing. So here we are going to write on-click. Let's actually create a handler function for updating the state of video and audio call. So I'm going to write over here handle toggle video call. Okay. So handle toggle video, this is just going to be a simple arrow function. What we are going to do inside this, we are just going to call the set video call function, and inside this we'll create a callback. Inside callback, the first argument is the previous value of the state, so we'll get the previous value, and after reversing it we are going to just return it. So this this new value which we are returning is going to be set as the new current value of the video call. So what I mean to say is that if let's say before we click on that button, if the value was false, it will turn to true after we click it, and vice versa. Okay, so this is the logic that I want to explain you right now. And let's now do the same thing for the audio. So here I'm just going to write toggle audio. Okay, handle toggle audio, and we need to update this function name as well. So I'm going to write set audio call. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now onto these buttons, we just want to pass the reference to this function. So since this is going to control the video call functionality, so I'm going to write handle toggle video, and on the other button I want to write on click handle toggle audio. Okay, so this is how we are going to uh, control the state. After that, we also need to mount the component. So at the bottom, at the bottom, I'm going to write over here video call. Okay, we are going to compare, and I'm using this AND operator to make sure that we render this component video room only when this video call state is set to true. Okay, so when this value turns to true, then this component will be mounted on our DOM tree, and here we need to pass the two props. The two props are open. Sorry, I actually added this wrong component. It's not video camera, it's going to be video room. So that is why I was not getting the suggestion for props that I should pass. So video room, it's going to come from component slash video room. Let me also make sure that I have corrected my mistake. So I was using this video camera icon instead of the video room component. So yeah, now it's correct. We can now pass the two props. The first one is open. This open is going to be equivalent to this video call. Okay, that means it's going to be the boolean value true or false. Then handle close, it's going to be we are going to pass a reference to this handle toggle video function. Okay, so now if we just go back to our application, this is the preview application running on localhost port 5173. If I click on this video call button, so now you can see we have got a modal window open, and we can see this white box at the center. So that means almost 50% of the task is done at this point. We have been successful in creating a modal window and opening it. But right now I want to start focusing on building the control section. So inside the control section, you can see we are going to have total of three buttons. Let me see if there are any comments. Okay, so there are no comments, additional comments. So I'll just keep on, continuing with this flow. So here, what you can see, we have got total three buttons, and these buttons are going to be used to control the call. Okay, that means we can mute, unmute our audio, video, and we can disconnect from the call. So let's just get back inside this video room.jsx and the div, which is, this div is responsible for that white box in the center. Now inside this, we are going to have two childrens. Let me be very clear over here that this is the first row, which is going to, have two grade items, and this is the second row, which is going to have three childrens. So how we are going to structure it is like this. We are going to first of all take the help of a div to wrap the two things together. And on this div, I want to add some class names. First of all, I'm going to let me just check. Yeah. So we are going to make this div into a flex container, and that too flex column. Okay, that means we want to place two rows inside a column, so that is why I'm using a column over here. Then in the y direction, I want the space property. That means some spacing between the two children's. So I'll set the space between the children's in the y direction to 6. Okay, 6 means 24 pixel. You can always multiply it by 4. Okay, unless you change that value, spacing value inside the theme. So now inside this div, we are going to have two children's. Let me just make a comment for that. So the first children is going to be our video grid. Okay, you can call it video feed grid as well, because we are going to display the video feed from each user and over there. And the second row will be for uh, call controls. That means we are going to control our call through these buttons. So let's now focus on the second part, and then we'll create the video grid as well. So inside the call controls, I just want a flex container, and the direction should be set to rows because the childrens are going to be laid out in a row fashion. Okay, and also please note that these childrens are horizontally at the center. Okay, and vertically also their line passing through the center is also coinciding. So the align items property, justify content property, both will be set to center. After inspecting it this much, we can now create a div, and based on our observations, I'm going to turn it into a flex. uh, I'm going to set its display to flex, and then direction set to flex row. After this, let's also make sure that we set the align items property to center and also justify content property to center. Okay, you can also hover over these properties to view the actual property that is going to be applied. Then in order to put some space between the childrens, we are going to use a space x property. Let's set its value to 4. Okay, then we can create the childrens inside this div. Okay, first of all, I would like to create this button at the center for disconnecting the call. So let me again make some comments for that. The first button is going to be our microphone button. The second one will be for disconnecting the call, or you can also call it hang up button. Okay, then the third button is for you know video camera. So let's write video camera button. For this disconnect button, first of all, I'm going to take a div. Okay, or instead of div we can also use button. Okay, and inside this button, let's first of all place the icon that we want to use over here. So the icon that I need is it's hang up. So let me just search for it. Yeah, so this is the one that I need, called phone disconnect. So I'm going to use it in this way inside my React application. So let me just write inside this button phone disconnect. Okay, and over here I'm going to write on click. First of all, you must note that this disconnect button will be used to close the call. So I'm going to pass the reference to this handle close function over here, so that when someone clicks on this button, the call will be closed and the model will be that model window will be destroyed. Okay, now let's actually style it using some class names. Okay, so the first thing I want over here is padding from all the four directions. That means top, bottom, left, right. So I'm going to set the padding value to 3, which means 12 pixel. You can confirm that by hovering over it. Okay, then I want to set the rounded value to full. Let me tell you why I am doing this. Rounded full means a very large value of border radius. This is going to just turn the container into a circle if the height and width are same. If height and width are not same, then it's going to look like an oval. Okay. Since in this case, we are going to have an icon at the center and padding, uniform padding all around. So it's going to look completely like a circle. Then let's also make its background color to be red. Okay, so we can just simply write bg red for that purpose. In order to change the color of the icon, we can just write text white. When we write text and then the color name, this means we are setting the color property. You can hover over it and see it's going to set the color property with opacity value to 1. Okay, and after this, let's also do one more thing. I want to set the hover property. So when we hover over this button, I want the opacity value to drop to 80%. So I'm going to write bg opacity 80. Now we can just go back and confirm whether this is working or not. So here you can see, yeah, it is working. We can hover over it, and if we click on it, the model window is closing. But there is just one issue that I can see over here, and that is the size of this icon. It's looking very small right now. In order to fix that, we can just write over here inside this font disconnect size prop and pass the value of 20. Okay, this size is significant, so let's see how it's looking. Okay, now it's bigger than before. It's looking better. Then I want to create this microphone button. Okay, so it's going to be again very similar, very much similar, but there will be just a little bit of difference. So inside this button, right now I want to add two different icons. Let me tell you how. Because it's going to contain two states, muted or unmuted. So based on that, it's going to display two different kinds of icon. For now we can start working with just one icon. So let's use microphone icon. This icon is going to come from phosphor icon slash react. Okay, again let me set the size to 20 right from the start. Then on this button we can start styling it. By styling I mean providing that gray background color, border radius, not the complete circle but just slight border radius from all the sides, padding and all those things. So first of all, let's set the padding of 3 from all directions so that it looks uniform. Then I'm going to give it a border radius of medium size, so rounded MD for that purpose. And background color I'm going to set it to gray. Then for the dark mode I'm going to set the background color to box dark color. Okay, please note that this color is going to come from our theme. Okay, so that is already explained in the previous video. Now I'm going to set the text color, that means the color of this microphone, to black, because the background color is gray, that is a very light color. So in contrast to that, black color is going to look better. For the dark mode, when the background color is going to be dark, we need to set a light color for the text. So here I'm going to say in the dark mode I want text color to be white. Okay, when we hover over this button, I want the background opacity to be 80% of the original. So here I'm going to write BG opacity 80 when we hover over this button. Okay. Then in order to put the icon at completely at the center, we can use the flexbox hack. Okay. So I'm just going to turn this button into a into display flex. Then let's set the items property to center and also justify content property to center. So this is going to be enough. Okay, now if we just go back and see, right now we have got our you know microphone control, but there is only just one problem, that when we click on it then nothing is actually happening. So how to create this kind of functionality, that when we click on this button it's going to toggle the microphone. So for that we need to manage some state over here inside this video room. So I'm going to write at the top of this function const, and then inside square bracket I'm going to write mute audio comma set mute audio. This is going to be equal to false. So that means at the start audio is not going to be muted, but if you want to set the audio to muted by default, then you can set it to true. So that depends on you what you want at the start. Similarly, we are going to need the same state, but just different variable name for the video as well. So mute video and set mute video. Now we need to create a handler function so that we can call these set mute audio and set mute video to update these values. So here I'm going to write handle toggle audio. Now this is going to be again a very simple arrow function. We are going to call set mute audio function inside it. Let's create a callback, and inside this callback we are going to get the previous value. We are going to just make reverse it and return from. So again, what is this function doing? It's storing a boolean value. Okay, so what it's going to do, it's going to take the previous value, we are going to reverse it. That means if it was true then set it to false, or vice versa, and then set that as the new value. Okay, so we can create a very similar function for handle toggle video. I'm going to write over here handle toggle video. Then let's write set mute video. We are going to again take the previous value, reverse it and set it as the new value. Now over here on this button I'm going to now write on click. So when this button is clicked, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this handle toggle audio. Okay, now that is not everything that we need to do. We also need to add a condition over here. So based on this thing, whether mute audio is true or not, we are going to display different kinds of icon. So here I'm going to write mute audio. We are going to check this condition. If it is true, then we want to display the microphone slash icon. So let me write microphone slash. This is again another icon which is going to represent that currently the microphone is muted. It's going to come from phosphor icon slash react. Here also I'm going to set the size to 20. Okay. Let me just format the document, and again we are going to take a look at our preview. So here you can see, if I just open up this video call again and let me click on this audio control, yeah, so now you can see the state is updating correctly. That means our logic is working. So similarly we can create the video camera button. I'm just going to, okay, I did some mistake. Let me just, okay, I think I made some mistake over here. I pressed the wrong key. I'm going to correct it from here. So inside this video room, let me just do this control Z. Okay, now I'll be back inside this file that we were creating. Okay, this is a video room, and yeah, so I'm just going to copy this button again and paste it over here after this video camera button comment. What we need to do, first of all, we need to change this handler function to handle toggle video. Okay, then over here we want to change the state that we are comparing with. This will be mute video. Then we need to change the icons. So here I'm going to write video camera slash, it's going to again come from phosphor icon slash react, and the other button will be video camera. Okay, you can see that all these icons are correctly imported at the top. Okay, you must also take care of this part, otherwise you're going to get the error. So now we can just go back to the application and see. Now we have got the video control, audio control, and also the disconnect. So the next thing is creating this video feed. Let me tell you that we are going to take the help of grid concept. Okay, that means we are going to create a grid, and there will be two items inside the grid with equal width. Let me again check if there are any additional comments so that I can answer. Okay, so you can always ask your doubt if you have uh, you know uh, doubts about the code base or any other courses, like when it's going to be released, something like that. Please ask that in the comment section. I'm going to reply. And obviously if you have some doubts regarding this project that we are doing currently, please ask that. So I'm back inside this. Okay, and since we have completed our call control, so I'm just going to collapse this step so that we can now focus on creating the video feed grid. What I'm going to do over here is, let's just create the video feed grid. Okay, for that we are going to first of all take a div, and on this div I want to first of all declare it as a grid. So let's write grid. Okay, which means display is now set to grid. Then let's also define that we want two columns inside this grid, so grid calls to. Then between those columns, two columns, I want the gap of 4. Okay, then I want to set its height to 50. This is actually something that you can always change. Okay, if you prefer to get the bigger containers, then please increase the size to let's say 60, 70, 80, whatever you like. Then margin bottom 4, I'm going to add this margin bottom 4 so that we can have some space between call controls and this thing. Okay, then after this, let's now over here I'm going to take another div, and this div is now going to be responsible for creating the first video feed. Okay, so here I'm going to again add some comment for the clarity. So this is our video feed number 1. Okay, then we'll create another div similar to this one, so I'm going to call that video feed number 2. Okay, so let's now focus on creating the first one. You can see from this that inside the video feed 1, we are going to actually place two things at the center. The first one is the image of the user, and this u text. Okay, in the other case it will be the other user's name, and also there will be one absolutely positioned element which is going to basically tell us whether the user is currently in the muted state or not. Okay, so for that purpose, since we want to add an absolute element inside this div, so I'm going to first of all set its position as a relative. Okay, so this is going to act like a relative parent. Let's give it full height. Okay, and full width. This full means 100% of the parent's height and width. Then background color will be set to gray color. I want some, border radius. So I'm going to write rounded MD. This means some border radius around all the four corners. Let's also add flex. Okay, flex property. Then item center. I'm doing this, to center the content both vertically as well as horizontally, because we are going to display the user's avatar, or you can call it profile picture, along with the name at the center. So now we need to focus on that thing that I just discussed. Since we want to group the name as well as the image together, so I'm going to create a wrapper around that. Let's create a div, and the only thing I want is a space by 2. I'm adding this property so that we can have some spacing between the user's image and the name. Okay, now let's create the image of the user. So for the source, actually I have got this file already inside my code base. It's called, you can see images. If you have watched the previous video, I have already provided this. You can just see inside the code base there is this asset slash sorry, this images folder which contains all the images that I'm going to use right now. So it contains this user folder, and there are lots of dummy images for the development purpose. So I'm just going to make use of that. So please make sure that you have watched the previous part, okay, so that you have the clarity about what I'm talking over here. So this image source, let's actually import the image over here, dummy image. So let me just write import user 01 from, I'm going to go one step back to images, and then users. Inside user I have, lots of dummy images. Let's use the user 01 and 02. Okay, so here I'm just going to write after that user dash 01 dot png. Okay, similarly let's duplicate it one time, and let's write user number 2, and also over here user 02. Now I'm just going to use that user 01 directly over here as the image source. So let me write user 01. Then on this image I'm going to add some class names so that we can have, that defined height and width. So let's set the height and width to 20. In order to make it a complete circle, I'm going to give it a very large border radius value. That means you can see this is a very bigger value in pixels. Okay, so this is going to make it look like a circle. Then let's also define the object property. I'm going to set it to center, and also the object fit property to cover, so that it covers all of the available space. Okay, so object dash cover. You can hover over these properties and see we are setting object fit property to cover and object position property to center. Okay. Now after displaying the image, I also want to display the user's name. So this is video feed number 1. So I want to just display this u text. Okay, I don't want to show the author his own name. Let's also style it appropriately. So I'm just going to set the font weight to medium. So for that we need to use this class font medium, and text size to small. So text SM means 14 pixel font size and line height set to 20 pixel. Now if you just go back and see over here, it's looking like this. But there is one more problem, that this text is not actually at the center horizontally. So what we should do for that, I'm just going to add one more class over here on this text, and that will be text dash center. This means text align property will be set to center. Now if we just go back and see, right now the text is at the center. So that means inside this video feed one, only one thing is remaining, and that is this microphone at the top. So when when we are in muted state, we should also see the same thing over here at the top, and that is going to be positioned relatively with respect to this parent. So after this div which contains image and the text, I'm going to create another div. Okay, and this div is going to be positioned absolutely. So here the first thing I want to write is absolute. Then let's define its position from the top and right. From the top it will be 3, from the right side it will be 4. Okay, this is just the position that I want. You can change these values anytime. Okay, you can place it on any corner or even at the center, wherever you like. So I am placing it at the top right corner over here. You will see that very soon. Now inside this I'm going to check the condition if audio is muted. Okay, only in that case we want to show this icon microphone slash. When the audio is muted, then we want to show this icon. I'm going to set its size to 20, and also I want to make it primary color. So I'm going to set the text primary. This means color property will be set to primary, our blue color. So you can now see, if we just go back and let me just open this again. If I click on this microphone button again, then you see this thing appeared over here at the top right corner. So that is exactly what we wanted over here. Okay. Then as a next step, I'm just going to copy this video feed number 1 and let's place it in the video feed number 2. Here I'm just going to update the user image, which is actually going to come from the API later on. Instead of you know displaying you, we are going to display the user's name, but that is also going to be coming from the API later on. And instead of checking the condition mute audio, which is the local state, we are going to just display this for now, and later on we'll see what condition we are going to use. Okay, because it's going to depend on the remote connection, so I'll tell you about that later. So if we just go back and you can see this is how it's looking right now, and exactly this is what I wanted to create. Okay, so we can do this another thing, which means creating the audio call as well, because you see in the audio call there is only very slight difference, and the difference is that you are going to now omit the video control, and when we do the WebRTC integration, we are going to leave it just like that, so that we only hear the voice and not the video feed, because it's going to be acting like an audio call. So what I need to do right now is, let's just go back to our code base once again. Before that, let me also check for any comments. Okay, so please ask your questions if you have any doubts. Okay, you can also do one more thing, join the Discord server and ask your doubts over there anytime. So let's now continue uh, with our course. So what I'm going to do now, we can just copy everything that we have written inside video room.jsx, and let me just go back to the components folder. Over here I'm going to create a new file. Let's call it audio room audioRoom.jsx. Okay, I just want to paste everything from the video room over here. First of all, let's update the name of this component. I'm going to call it audio room. Okay, here we can now remove the state for controlling the video, because in audio call there is no purpose of video. Okay, so let's also remove the handler function. Then after that, instead of video feed grid, I'm going to call it audio feed grid. Okay, it's only going to play the audio feed. So I'm just going to update it as audio feed grid. Also, this will be audio feed number 1. This will be our audio feed number 2. Okay, everything else will remain the same for now. And in our control section, we are just going to remove the video camera button. So let's remove this button along with this comment. And that is all the change that I need over here. Now the next thing is to actually use it somewhere, and also let's remove these unused imports, since we are not using video camera and video camera slash icon. So I'm going to remove it. Okay, and then we can go back to our inbox.jsx, and over here where we are we have implemented this handle toggle audio model, we can now go to the bottom of the component and mount our mount our video room audio call. And over here I'm just going to write, if it is true, okay, when this audio call property is true, then I want audio room, okay, audio room component to be mounted inside the DOM tree. Then let's also pass the open and handle close props. So open is going to depend on this variable audio call, whether it's true or false. That will decide whether the dialog will be open or closed. Okay, and for controlling the closing functionality, we can just simply pass handle toggle audio. Okay, this is what we created earlier. So now this is supposed to work. Okay, and we can just go back to our application. Let's just refresh it for one time, and over here I can just click on this audio call button, and you can see this is working. Okay, the UI is now complete. So till this point, now we have all the different kinds of messages inside our chat section. Then we also have the UI for building the audio and video call functionality. Let me tell you that there is something missing over here, and that is when we implement the WebRTC functionality and you place the call, the other user is not going to be directly connected to the call. They are going to receive an alert that the other user is calling you. Do you want to receive it or not? So that is one of the more one of the dialogue that we are going to create later on while integrating the WebRTC. Okay, we are going to leave that stuff for now. So this is everything inside the chat section for now. As a next step, we need to start creating the profile section. Inside profile section, we want to allow the user to manage their profile, like the details you see over here, their image, name, their position, their uh, time zone, so that other users can see what's the time in their over there at the other user's side. And this is just taken from the Slack. Actually, Slack displays this kind of time zone. Then we are also going to allow the user to add a bio to their profile, just like we do in WhatsApp and Discord and every other application that you see. Okay. There will be one more thing that we can do inside profile section, and that is updating the password. Okay. So when we create our profile, let's say at some point we want to update the password, I'm going to provide that option inside the profile. Okay. So that's it for this particular stream. I hope you liked it. Okay. And we can meet in the next one. Okay. Please leave your comments and let me know if you have any doubts or questions for the code base. Please know that I'm going to post the link in the comment section and as well as in the description box. You can also join the Discord server. Link is given in the channel page, and you can ask me any of your doubts. Okay. So that's it for this one. Let's meet in the next